Hey everyone, it's Laura here from makingcardsitsfun.com, and it's time for another Saturday Sunday card and video. Today is a very hot day here in Belgium, so I thought it would be kind of fun to make a tropical looking card. So first I'm going to start out with a piece of white watercolor cardstock, and this is from Tim Holtz. And my camera won't focus. Okay, so this is from Tim Holtz. And I'm going to paint some pineapples on that. So I'm going to cut it a little bit smaller. I'm going to cut it to 2 1/4 of an inch by 3 1/2. There we go. So now I'm going to use my Simply Art watercolor palette again to color these pineapples. So I am a mess at drawing and I'm really not good at it, but I'm just going to do my best to paint my own pineapples. Okay, so I'm going to start out with this yellow paint and I'm just going to draw the shape of a pineapple. Okay, and then I'm going to use some more paint to color it in, to paint the leaves. So I'm going to use the green over here, and then I'm just going to start painting the leaves, and this is always very difficult because the green paint that I'm using is very pigmented, so it is kind of difficult to use it to draw and paint like these tiny little images. It is great to use like on a background or something, but when you paint little images, it's just a little bit harder to use. So now I'm going to add some lines into these little pineapples, and I'm using just a very fine black marker. You could use about any fine marker for this. This one is by Staedtler. I'm not really sure if you can get this in the USA, but there are plenty of these fine little markers available, so no worries. Okay, so I'm going to start drawing the lines. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I found some beautiful floral chipboard pieces in my stash, so I'm going to use them right now. I'm going to color these using pigment ink, so I haven't used these in a very long time, but now I'm finally going to use them. I'm using Orchid and Orange Color Box pigment ink, and I'm just going to cover up each chipboard piece using that pigment ink. I'm just going to take a piece of Post-it tape, and I'm going to put the flowers on the sticky side so that it will just be easier to color these. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to color this flower in pink, so I'm just going to press my ink pad. There we go, looks absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to color the center flower using the orange pigment ink. Oops. There we go. So it will take a long time before these chipboard pieces are dry, so I'm going to sprinkle some embossing powder on there, and I'm using the Neutral Ultra Shimmer embossing powder by Wow. So I'm just going to sprinkle that. There we go, and then I'm going to pick up these pieces using my tweezers. Okay, and I'm going to set that aside. So now I'm going to put these flowers into a lid of a shoebox, and then I'm going to take my heat gun so I can heat set the embossing powder. So I just heat set the embossing powder, and as you can see, we are now left with these gorgeous colored and sparkly wood veneer flowers. So it looks just really cool. Now I'm going to work on the rest of the cards, and I'm going to use this piece of watercolor cardstock from Tim Holtz. And I'm going to do this letterpress technique using the tweed pattern stencil from Hero Arts. Okay, so over here I have my big shot, and I did some research for this technique. You can get a special embossing mat to do this technique, but you could also use a mouse pad or anything else that is rubber. That is rubber. So I'm going to do that. So I'm using my big shots as if I would use an embossing folder. And then instead of the embossing mat or the mouse pad, I'm going to use some rubber. This was around a binder a while ago, and I cut it off the binder, and now I'm going to use it for my letterpress technique. So first I am going to add a layer of the rubber, and I am folding this so it's nice and thick. So I'm going to put it over here, and then I'm going to add my first plate. There we go. Then I'm going to put the stencil on the plate and the cardstock. And I want the textured sides to have the pattern on it, so I'm going to turn it around. Then I'm going to put another piece of the rubber on there. Okay, and I'm going to put my second plate on there. Okay, and I'm going to run it through. And then we have the textured side. I decided I'm going to stamp a sentiment on there using the Bubble Talk stamp set from William Walter. Stamp the greeting on my pineapple piece using Versamark ink, and then I'm going to emboss it later on. So there we go. So now I'm going to sprinkle that using my favorite black embossing powder, which is the Black Glint Wow Embossing Powder. So I'm going to grab my little spoon, and I'm going to heat set it using my heat gun. So I'm going to first adhere the letterpress piece onto a standard size note card. So it's a standard size A2 note card that I cut out of the Nina White 110 pound cardstock. I'm going to adhere the pineapple piece onto the card using some of that same stamp runner adhesive. There we go. So now I'm going to adhere the flowers that we created earlier in this video, and I'm going to adhere them using some glossy accents. The reason that I'm using glossy accents is because this is just such a strong adhesive, and it is really great for big embellishments as these. So I'm going to adhere them, and then I'm also going to add a tiny strip of washi tape, and this is some awesome pink neon washi tape, and I found this at a local store, but I will link to a similar tape in the video description. I'm going to do some quick watercoloring on the letterpress piece because I just want it to stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to open up my cards, and then I'm going to mask off this area so I don't spill any watercolor. Okay. So first I'm going to add a quick wash of watercolor using my Simply Art watercolor palette. So first I'm going to add a little bit of water so that the colors will blend easier. Okay, and then I'm going to use the coral color over here, and I'm just kind of going to drop that, and then I'm going to use some yellow as well. I'm going to do that very carefully, and I'm going to use a tiny brush. So I'm going to pick up some of the color, and then I'm going to add it. So I'm just flicking the brush. I'm going to adhere some Pretty Pink Posh 4mm and 6mm sparkling clear sequins on this card, and I'm using Glossy Accents as an adhesive for that. Okay, so you're probably going to think that I'm crazy, but I would like to add a yellow border around the pineapple piece, so on the edges of the cardstock. So that will be kind of difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of that post-it tape, and I'm going to adhere it around the frame. So I'm going to do that to protect the rest of the card. Okay, so now I'm going to take my blending tool, and I'm going to use squeezed lemonade distress ink. Okay, and now I'm going to kind of blend that in. Okay, so that finishes up the card for this week's Saturday STEM Day card and video. Let me know what you think about the cards, and you can give it a thumbs up if you would like to. All the supplies are linked in the video description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be back next week. Bye!